Here we are with Ashley Browne, the BackPageLead editor, on the eve of the grand final, the 2010 grand final. It's been a huge week with the build-up. Collingwood are training again at Gosh's paddock. More than the 12,000 we saw apparently on earlier in the week, Ash. They've come out in droves. The Visigoths and the Vandals, they're all here. But what would a grand final week be without a bit of selection intrigue? It's already come in droves today, hasn't it?
I can't recall a grand final. Actually, there's been more intrigue. It's been pretty clear cut the last few years. But both the changes made by both teams at selection on Thursday night, and then waking up to the injury rumour, the injury scare this morning, is it's making for a fascinating 24 hours in the lead-up.
The injury scare being what?
Justin Koschitzke. I think Glenn Jakovic, your old mate Glenn Jakovic, might have started that rumour on TV on Fox Sports on Thursday night that has broken ribs and that McAvoy or Stanley will come into the side for him.
It's interesting that St Kilda decided to drop McAvoy on Thursday night and bring back Stevie Baker, leaving them with really one recognised ruckman in Michael Gardner, and with Koschitzke as the backup. That was the theory, and now Koschitzke seems to be in some doubt, so you'd have to think McAvoy might be some chance of reappearing.
That's right, and Ross Lyon went through the whole charade on TV on Thursday night saying the boy's shattered and it was the hardest thing he's had to do, and they might have even had that conversation yet in real life. But I think, but even Baker is a risk for St Kilda. Lee Matthews panned at the radio last night. The guy hasn't played football for 13 weeks. I mean, it's a big step up to come in after not having played for half a season, just come in and play a grand final.
And yet Dennis Pagan, in a column he wrote for BackPageLead, thought he was a must-select. He was a must-have. He was popular with his teammates and can do a job, even if it's off the bench. Yeah, well, it's the old racing parlance that first up after a spell you go okay, but it's the second time after a spell you struggle. Well, there's no second time after for anyone playing the grand final, so roll the dice and play him. But you would imagine Baker has been set to just annoy, harass and niggle one of Didac or Leon Davis, both of whom, in previous times have got slightly short fuses. And Reece Stanley's been apparently pulled out of the half-time sprint, the great grand final tradition, which he won the race last year. It is said this morning, and we haven't had it confirmed, that he's out of the sprint, so that all adds to the intrigue. What about Collingwood, Ash? They've got to where they are on the back of a lot of youthful enthusiasm, speed, the freshness of the young 21 and 22-year-olds. Yet they've gone with Prestigiacomo and Davis, brought them back. That's
right. Well, Davis, he missed the preliminary final with hamstring soreness, a tight hamstring, comes back. Look, he's a mercurial player, not the best record in finals, but having said that, it was a few years ago now, 02 and 03, where he struggled a bit in grand finals. He was all Australian last year, and had a fantastic season. Presti's the interesting one. He hasn't played since round 20, corked thigh against Essendon on the Friday night. Played really well against Collingwood against St Kilda in round 16, kept Riewoldt to just a goal. Now the difference, of course, then was that Riewoldt was coming back, obviously second game back from his big hamstring injury. Now roles are reversed, where you've got Presti not having played for 6 weeks, and Riewoldt is in fine form. So what's going to happen in the first quarter of the grand final? Riewoldt does these searching runs up and down the ground. He will run 100 metres from the goal square or where is the forward line, deep into the back line, just to tire out his opponent. And that's when we'll see what their plans are. Presti might run with him. They might plan for someone else to pick up Riewoldt if he does these runs. But he's going to run Presti around in the first quarter, the first half, and just sort of see just how fit he really is. And then the third quarter is when Riewoldt...
I'd be delighted to be playing on Presti.
Well, I think...
Riewoldt.
Yeah, well, based on Riewoldt struggled like a few of the Saints first half, but Riewoldt's third quarter in the preliminary final was fantastic. I mean, he turned the game for them. And yeah, I think he'll be jumping out of his skin at taking on Presti. But shrewd man, Malthouse, he's a man with a plan, and I would suspect that there might be a couple of different players going to Riewoldt at various stages of the match.
I want to talk to you about your tip. You like Collingwood, and conversely I like St Kilda. But interesting, the Shark, who's the BackPageLead's professional punter, says the bet of the season is St Kilda at the line, which is about 16.5 points. The bet of the season. So that's pretty big talking from our sandpaper skinned fish. Your thoughts on the game? How's it going to pan out? Why do you like Collingwood?
Well, I like Collingwood because their form has just been too good. I mean, I saw the Collingwood-St Kilda game in round 16 and they were fantastic, the Pies. They just treated St Kilda imperiously to beat them by 8 goals. And then that first quarter of the preliminary final against Geelong on Friday night, 7 goals to 1, which is probably the best quarter of football any team has played over the course of the season. I think they're just showing the signs of a team that's going to the premiership. They have just been in really good form. They've been clearly the best team in the competition for all season, certainly the second half of the season. Malthouse has had 31 players to choose from, so he knows he can pick 22 guys that are absolutely flying, absolutely up and about. I think there's more brilliance with Collingwood. I think they've got more game breakers. I think they've got in Swan, and I mean I'm a big fan of Lenny Hayes, but in Swan and Pendlebury, he's got the two best midfielders in the on the park. So I just think they're slightly better balanced. I think you look at their side, and the test I like to apply, which I could go horribly wrong on Mondays, you look at the bottom six of both teams, and I think Collingwood's bottom six is significantly better than that of St Kilda.
I reckon Collingwood's bottom six might be a problem. I think I'm worried about their inexperience, and I think that might cause them to get off to something of a slow start tomorrow. St Kilda will not do what Geelong let Collingwood do, and that is run around without any kind of significant pressure. I think they'll shut them down, and they'll be much better at that. I think their loss in the grand final last year is obviously burned deeply. I know it's always thrown up as a reason why beaten grand finalists come back the next year and tend to win. I think the 75% is the percentage. 15 of the last 20 beaten grand finalists have gone on to win the next year. There's some sort of significant stats to support the argument that they're going to be really competitive tomorrow. I'm with the Shark on this. I reckon they're way over the odds at $2.80, and I reckon they can do it.
I think my other worry about St Kilda is that they're a team built to play more games than Eddie had. You could say the pressure of the young players of Collingwood. This is a team, I did the stats, and they've played about 5 or 6 games this year, Collingwood, of more than 75,000 people at the MCG. They are used to playing big games at the MCG. They've played 16 games there this year. They've played the last 9 there at the MCG. It really is. It is such a home. They've got a clear home ground advantage tomorrow, Collingwood. It is just second nature, a big crowd at the MCG. And yes, it might be the grand final, but after the first 5 minutes of the grand final, it is just another big game in the MCG, of which they have played many.
Yeah, true. Look, I would like to see Koschitzke play, I'd have to say that. I think if he's missing, that would really, I might have to even agree with you, Ash, which don't really like doing, and go with the Pies. Koschitzke fitting well, I reckon 1966, reprise, yeah.
Well, we can only look. There's from the perverse side of things. There's great reasons to enjoy both teams losing. That's for sure. But look, it'll be a really good game. It's genuinely exciting about this grand final. We've had again, like last year, that it really is a 50-50 chance. You don't go in there thinking with strong feelings towards one team or the other, which is always the way you want to start out grand final. And look, the best grand finals are those where the result's in doubt at three-quarter time, and I've got no doubt that three-quarter time tomorrow we'll think either team can win. Okay, look, BackPageLead will bring you several match reports as soon as the game's finished, and on Sunday more reflective pieces. And Ash, thanks for your company, and let's hope it's a great game. Enjoy the grand final, everyone.